Examiners tested nearly 100 items taken from the Curleys' home. Only 2 of the items from the Curley home tested positive for thallium. The half-gallon thermos Robert took to work with him each day, and one of the smaller thermoses Joanne insisted never left home. For police, the findings were troublesome. Since thallium was found in a thermos Robert never took to work, there was no direct link between the poisoning and the university. Police began to suspect they had been looking in the wrong place for Robert's killer. The lab results were leaked and published by a local newspaper that was following the investigation. Joanne told police that she remembered something that would explain why the smaller thermos tested positive. She said that shortly after her husband was hospitalized, he called her and asked that she bring in pizza and iced tea for a farewell party for his roommate. Joanne said she transferred the remaining tea from the half-gallon thermos to the smaller container and took it with her to the hospital. As long as the half-gallon thermos remained the focal point of the investigation, Robert's co-workers could not be dismissed as suspects. And none of them had a reason to kill the electrician. The investigation hit another dead end, one that would last for the next 3 years.
I think that's an interesting thing.
This one piece will make 52 layers.
Watch on mobile devices or the big screen. All for free. No subscription required.
3 years after the poisoning death of Robert Curley, the Pennsylvania State Police took over the investigation. With no leads or suspects, investigators faced a challenge. Sergeant Dave Wondolowski was assigned to the case.
The very first step, I made a determination that we were going to start right back from scratch, right at the very beginning, and treat this as if the crime had occurred yesterday.
Investigators began with the forensic findings. The original autopsy had not determined when and how often the murder victim had ingested thallium. Investigators feared the answers they needed had gone to the grave with Robert Curley. On August 23, 1994, Robert Curley's body was exhumed for examination. Hair and nail samples were taken from the body. Dr. Frederick Liegers wanted to establish a timeline using Robert Curley's hair.
What you can find out with the hair is when the poison was administered. The hair grows at the rate of about 1/3 of an inch every month, so that you can take a small piece of hair that's right at the root, and you see what's happened just a few days ago. You take it at the tip. In this case, it was a 19-centimeter tip. It's basically what happened just about a year earlier.
The hair samples were tested using a furnace atomic absorption instrument. In this test, a sample is placed in a graphite tube and heated to the point of vaporization. A light is shined through the tube. The amount of light absorbed by the vapor determines if thallium is present and how much. Robert Curley's hair samples told an especially revealing story.
The hair is long enough so that we can say that in November of 1990, he started getting thallium, and probably even earlier. And that apparently then there was he got another dose around March of 1991. Another one, a smaller one perhaps, sometime in April. And then he got a whopping dose in June. And then he continued to get doses because instead of going up and down, it just kept going up. Then there was a pause, and then we found actually that towards the very end that it was going up like crazy.
Robert Curley had started ingesting thallium well before he became then slowly and methodically poisoned to death. Then, a final massive dose had been administered around the time he was last hospitalized. The one person with both motive and access was Joanne Curley. Investigators scoured Joanne's previous statements. Of particular interest was her account of bringing pizza and tea in a pint-sized thermos to Robert and his hospital roommate in the days before Robert's death. Investigators questioned the roommate, Richard Bonin. He gave them a very different story than the one Joanne had given a few years earlier. According to Bonin, neither he nor Robert had asked Joanne to bring them food or drink. Nor were they celebrating Bonin's departure, which did not take place for another 2 days. That night, according to his roommate, Curley's condition worsened dramatically. He was screaming in pain. Bonin summoned help. He distinctly recalled that Joanne served the iced tea in a large half-gallon thermos. Police believed Joanne had administered the last fatal dose to her husband as doctors tried in vain to save his life. On December 12, 1996, Joanne Curley was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. As part of a plea bargain agreement, Joanne confessed. Only months after she and Robert wed, she realized that the marriage had been a mistake. Divorce was a possibility, but the thought of Robert's life insurance policy tantalized her. An old jar of rat poison she discovered in the basement seemed to be the answer. She could rid herself of her husband and net nearly $300,000 in the bargain. Joanne laced Robert Curley's iced tea each day. To divert suspicion, she administered a harmless dose to her daughter and herself. For a time, her cover-up and frequent diversionary tactics worked. Joanne Curley eluded police for over 5 years. According to Pennsylvania State Trooper Robert McBride, the forensic findings were invaluable.
Forensics gave us a timeline and time periods when people or the murderer would have had to have access to him. And by that means, we were able to exclude other potential suspects. This wasn't really an investigation. Normally, an investigation starts and you zero in on a suspect. This was totally opposite. This was an investigation of exclusion. We went about eliminating people until we got down to one.
Joanne Curley was sentenced to serve 10 to 20 years in the Pennsylvania State Penitentiary. Curley poisoned her victims slowly over time. While other killers aren't as methodical, the technique proves just as deadly. In this case, the names of the victims and killer have been changed. On January 30th, 1985, Patrolman Walter Wallace raced to Memorial General Hospital. As a veteran of the Roselle, New Jersey Police Department, he had often responded to medical emergencies. But this call was personal. The doctor informed Wallace that his wife, Beth, had collapsed and suffered a seizure. Wallace was stunned. His wife was fine when he left for work that evening. Beth had no history of seizures, and though she struggled with a weight problem, she had been in relatively good health. As Beth's vital signs rapidly failed, doctors could offer the patrolman little hope. Nor could they find an explanation for her symptoms. Wallace was dead.
Dude.
Beth and Walter had been married for 24 years and had 3 children together. Beth's mother, Rose Parker, was living with them when the tragedy occurred. Because of the sudden and mysterious nature of Beth Wallace's death, the doctor requested an autopsy. Cause of death was determined to be cardiac arrest. A month later, tragedy struck the Wallace home again. Rose Parker suffered a massive heart attack. Paramedics worked frantically to stabilize her and swiftly transport her to the hospital. But it was too late.
The day of
Shortly after her arrival, Rose Parker died.
come and they will have to be escorted out there.
At the Union County Prosecutor's Office, investigators learned of the deaths from Rose Parker's lawyer. The fact that 2 healthy women had died suddenly and within a month of each other seemed suspicious. He asked investigators to look into Walter Wallace. Assistant Prosecutor Richard Rodbart followed up on this information.
Anytime you have a public official, much less a police officer, who is suspected as being the perpetrator of a crime, you have to be extremely sure that the evidence points in that direction before you proceed and before you bring a case against that individual.
To rule out foul play, investigators contacted Dr. Reng Lang Lin, chief toxicologist for the state of New Jersey. An examination of the file showed that no toxicology testing had been done. Rose Parker's body, they quickly learned, would yield no clues. There had been no autopsy. She'd been embalmed and buried. But at Beth Wallace's autopsy, tissue samples had been taken. These were sent off for extensive toxicological testing. It would be 6 weeks before investigators would receive the results. Captain Edward Johnson requested Walter Wallace's personnel file from the Roselle Police Department. From its contents, a portrait of the man emerged. Wallace was an exemplary police officer. He was popular with his superiors and peers. Nothing in the file was out of the ordinary or raised suspicions. Captain Johnson read the file in its entirety, including Wallace's military discharge papers.
It showed who won several important medals and listed a lot of combat service over in Vietnam. For whatever reason, I can't remember exactly what sparked it, but I was looking at it, and I was at first impressed by the record that this fella had. Then there was something on the 214 that just didn't look right.
Johnson contacted the U.S. Army to verify the record. His suspicions were confirmed.
He never had any of those medals. He was never in special forces. In fact, we can't verify overseas service on the part of this man. So the 214 that was in the police department file was a forgery.
Walter Wallace was a liar, but was he capable of murder? To find out, investigators would need to talk with the people who knew him best, his fellow officers.
There is a certain difficulty, obviously, in investigating a police officer for a crime because you have to go into his department, talk to people that he works with every day, and the more people you talk to, the more you're signaling where your investigation is going. Hi, Jeff, you got that file?
Investigators made a low-profile visit to the Roselle Police Department while Wallace was off duty.
I'll get it back to you in a couple of days, okay?
They didn't expect Wallace's colleagues to be forthcoming, but one officer surprised them. According to the officer, there was something perplexing about Walter's marital status. He suspected that Walter had married a woman named Jacqueline Deal while he was still married to Beth.
Hello, how
while, he was pretty good at juggling all of this.
Oh yeah.
Traveled to nearby Elizabeth,
Hey girl.
Wallace's other wife.
Hey sunshine.
Well,
Jacqueline Deal confirmed that she and Walter had been married
Oh yeah.
December 2nd, 1984.
Oh, you're so pretty today.
Wallace's death. She said Walter had divorced his wife the summer before.
Oh girl, you look tired.
Walter had brought over the divorce papers when it was final, and the two
Yeah.
celebrated.
Yeah.
Investigators found the divorce decree among
Yeah.
provided by Rose Parker's lawyer.
I'm okay.
Numerous irregularities made them question its validity.
Yeah.
Investigators searched for the original divorce decree at the county courthouse.
How was work today?
There was no record under the name Wallace. They then searched under
Oh.
only to discover it belonged to somebody else's divorce. His name
What?
read Martin versus Martin, not Wallace versus Wallace.
Oh.
That Wallace used his badge to obtain Martin's divorce decree. Wallace altered the letter to obtain marriage license.
Nothing. I'm just watching TV.
Investigators sent the document to the FBI lab
Oh
for
yeah.
further analysis. They had caught Walter in another lie, and this one indicated
What?
possible motive for murder. But investigators were perplexed.
Oh yeah.
Why would Wallace break the divorce and kill the woman rather than legally end the marriage?
Okay.
Investigators scrutinized
Okay.
Walter's to inherit
Oh.
everything, including the family house. But something happened.
Oh, she's with her dad?
Investigators' eye. The will was dated just 2 months prior to Beth's death.
Oh.
The timing seemed too convenient.
Okay.
Investigation revealed the existence of an earlier. In this version,
Visiting or?
mother
Oh yeah.
$1 to her husband. Investigators wondered if he had forged the second will and killed his wife.
Rice, vegetables, and fruit salad, I think.
Roselle Police Department.
Yeah.
But she denied ever witnessing the will or affixing her seal to the document.
Okay.
Secretary noted
What
that
does
Wallace
this
offered
have?
her unlocked debts.
Oh yeah.
Previously used her notary seal to certify an offer without her knowledge.
Is she listening to Michael Jackson right now,
Investigators
or?
built a strong circumstantial case against Walter
Oh
Wallace,
yeah.
but they needed proof.
Oh yeah.
Paper trail led to murder. Investigators in Roselle, New Jersey,
Very tired today,
Wallace
so I just
the
slept.
death of his wife, Beth. Now they hope to support their circumstantial case
Yeah.
with proof that Wallace poisoned her.
Oh yeah.
4 months into the case, the
Oh.
State Lab reviewed the results of a general toxicological screen of Beth's blood, tissue, and urine. Because the screen only tested for the use of
Yeah.
drugs and alcohol, it came out negative.
Oh yeah.
Laboratory technicians were taking samples to a
Okay.
to rule out prescription drugs, heavy metals, or ingestible
Okay. I'll talk to you later, okay?
Still, they found
Bye.
to explain why Beth died.
Okay.